Chapter 8. Who knows that I am? Take the case of someone who says, I don't like what Maharaj is saying, so he gets up and walks out. What has happened? He has reacted to the meaning of a particular word or set of words which has come from the mind. So the mind says, I don't like what is being said, and that thought is converted into words. And again the mind takes the meaning of these words, that I don't like this, and the action takes place of his walking out. If similarly, as the basis of all thought, one accepts some definite principle, then all one's future actions will be based on it. This firm base is the result of accepting the meaning of the word which has come from a particular thought. My guru told me that I am Parabrahman and nothing else. I have accepted that with great conviction, and therefore whatever other things appear seem to me palpably false. At one stage, for example, I was extremely strong. 15 or 20 years later, I had to use a stick, and later on, even the stick becomes useless. So all these changes in the body are not mine. Whatever disease has come, it refers to the area of body only. All thoughts that come will be based on the firm primary thought, I am the Parabrahman. Unless one adheres to this fundamental principle, and most of us don't, we accept that we are the body, and continue as such till our deaths. But if the Guru's words are accepted with total conviction, our entire destiny, our entire life will be transformed. I am splitting off what you are and yourself from whatever thoughts that occur to you. I stated you are not the thoughts, but that if you embrace the thoughts as yourself, you actually become the thoughts. So I drive a wedge between you and those thoughts, between you and your assimilation of any thoughts or words. Earlier I had said that you become the sum total of all the thoughts and whatever meanings you attach to them. You are the victim of the thoughts, of the meaning of the words, which you entertain as yours. I gave you an example of that fellow who had accepted the meaning of the words, I have been offended, had wholly swallowed the concept and so made it his own. In driving that wedge, I say, you are apart from thought or the meaning of the words. What are sattva guna, rajas guna, and tamas guna? Sattva guna is doing all the tricks, and you say, I am doing this. You accept the actions of the sattva guna, rajas guna, and tamas guna as your own. You are not that either. There is the example of the married woman who had been in the family way for 3 months. And somebody made a forecast that the fetus is that of a very great person, of the standing of Lord Bhagavan Sri Krishna. The child to be born will be as great or even superior to Lord Krishna. That concept or that thought is given. So this lady accepts the thought in toto. Embracing the thought, its meaning, as herself, the child must be born as great as Krishna. The sickness of which I am accused, of which my body is accused, is actually a great blessing because it is not what I am. But it is also like that lady in the family way. I am also in the same state. That lady, because of the concept given to her, would indeed believe that her child is as great as Krishna. Similarly, my guru has given me this conception that I am the Parabrahman. So that is always there. So then what is the impact of this sickness? The sickness is going to deliver me into the Parabrahman state, because I have accepted Parabrahman as my real nature. I am the Parabrahman only. So the sickness is helping the delivery into the Parabrahman. Therefore the culmination of the sickness is Parabrahman. You are a slave to the meaning of words, to the meaning of the mind. Therefore you are the victim of the mind. Who accepts this conviction? It is not the mind. The deep sense in you that you are must accept that you are the Parabrahman, not the mind. Don't be a slave to the meaning which the mind imposes on you. The culmination of that sickness in me is Parabrahman only, but for others having this sickness there will be panic that they are going to die. This is the normal concept of ordinary people. But for one who is firmly convinced that he is the Parabrahman, I would almost say whatever the self is, that self is convinced that it is Parabrahman, then the sickness is a blessing, because the sickness helps to deliver one into Parabrahman. Who has the knowledge I am? Somebody in you knows the knowledge I am. Who is it? It is very obvious that you know you are. But what or who is it that knows you are? I ask that question too, who knows I am? Am I to reply that you are sitting here? You know you are sitting here, and you are asking me. You must understand why I am asking this question. Unashamedly, you are asking me to reply to your question. Interpreter, you see, the point is we have to go to our very core. The whole idea is not to reply superficially. So what is the point in asking others to reply to your question? Because it sounded like a rhetorical question. Interpreter, we are to be prior to our I amness. Then Maharaj wants us to study ourselves and find out whatever it is. There may not be a verbal reply. At least we must try to understand what he is driving at. I understand that. Is it pure awareness that knows I am? Yes, that is right. Who can understand that illusory state? I amness is illusory only. It is not a perfect state. It is illusion. Who knows the illusion? A non-illusory state only can know the illusory state. You are not wrong in your reply, but why did you say pure awareness? What is the necessity of your saying pure? There was no necessity. Awareness means pure. Since awareness knows I am, it is other. It is more than I am. That is the highest. There is no gradation in awareness. In the absolute, the Parabrahman state, there is no question of impure awareness or pure awareness. Is there love in pure awareness? No. What do you mean by love? What is your experience, your idea of love? Something much higher than the love that the mind and the body have, something that is formless. Up to the state of beingness, I amness, consciousness, there is the state of love. That love is the love to be. This love to be is not the perfect state, but when transcended, it is the perfect state. No imperfections. You say up to the point of beingness. Is that when you are still in the absolute? The no-being state is the absolute. That is what you call pure awareness. Beingness is the feeling I am. That I am itself is love to be. I would like to be. I would love to perpetuate myself. And where is love? That is love. Consciousness itself is love. With consciousness, you would love to be. And in pure awareness, there is no I amness. There is no consciousness. And no love? In love to be, you want to have something, right? Some desire is there, the love to continue to be. In the Parabrahman, there is no love to be because it is a perfect state. What is the purpose if the Absolute is up there? What is the purpose of the Absolute coming to birth in a form? Why do you ask such an elementary question? I will give you some example. You want to go to a particular place to visit. You are that need. Because of that need, you love to go. Love is the motive force. It moves you. Similarly, when you are beingness, the beingness wants to continue. It wants to continue in time and space. That is the state of love to be. So love is there only in the state of beingness. In the perfect state, that state does not want to become something other than what it is, nor does it want to be. Therefore, that beingness is not there. The feeling of I amness is not present. In the perfect state, everything is complete. When your need is fulfilled, there is no more need, no more lack. There is no more movement. Love is also dissolved at that moment. Suppose you want to go to a place, some faraway station. You rush to the station to catch the train. Why are you rushing? Because you wish to reach your destination. Once you reach it, you don't rush anymore. You stay put in quietude. You forget the movement also. There is no more rushing. Again, I am not addressing an individual or personality. I am addressing that final outcome of the five elemental food essence, I amness. You are not the personality or the individual. The quintessence of this food, which in turn is the outcome of the five elemental play, is the taste I am. I am is not a personality, nor an individual. For example, you want to employ a servant, and there is a very weak fellow whom you want to convert into a good servant. He is very weak and cannot perform, so you bring him good food, good nourishment, and then he becomes stronger and steady. Then finally, is it not the food that has made him into a good servant? The good quality of the food that you gave him is converted into service for you. Similarly, what are medicines? Is not medicine also a type of food? An antidote to a deficiency of a particular food in your body is administered in the form of medicine. Therefore, who is serving that servant? Is it not the food essence? And with respect to your own body, who is serving you? Is it not the food essence that is a good servant to you? Does all this knowledge that is exposed here confuse you? Normally what is happening is that people assume themselves to be human forms, and they try to understand everything through the filter of that human form. They translate whatever I say into the mode of thinking of a human being, a personalized human being. That is the trouble. I am addressing that principle, that touch of I am, that consciousness, which is the product of the food essence body. You are not very clear. I thought it was fairly clear. You can't really judge me from what I say. What I say might belie my understanding. You are of the firm conviction that you understood? No, there are certain things that one understands at certain levels, but from the totality nothing was understood. Did you say the highest level or the totality? Totality. What did you mean by totality? When one remains in the I am, there is no knowledge, no thought, no movement. When you are only being, are there no thoughts? No. The very consciousness is the potential for thought activity. There is a potential for thought, but if it is not exercised, there is no thought. When the consciousness is there, thoughts will spontaneously come, or they may not. You have no control over that whatsoever. It is exclusively the business of the consciousness to have thoughts or no thoughts. But we were talking about the universal consciousness as having no thoughts and no mentation. That being so, where then is the thought? If we are told to be and to remain in the I am, where then is the thought? Leave it for now and stop thinking. What I am telling you, you are not in a position to understand. And what you are telling me, I don't understand. So what is the use of more talk? Well, it wasn't my intention to imply that I knew anything. I felt I knew a few things, relativity-wise, but I now realize that I know nothing and that it is due to Maharaj's grace. Since you are talking from the standpoint that you understand nothing, still you are asking questions. So how am I to understand them? The type and quality of questions which emerges from you indicates that you are not understanding what I am driving at. The whole object of the dialogue is for you to understand what I am saying, and that I understand what you are saying. If this is not the case, then what is the purpose of a dialogue at all? I am not well. I shall be talking only crisply and to the point, no digression. Many people have listened to my talks, have understood, and have gone into quietude. If people cannot understand me, what can I do about that? If my talks cannot be understood, it is no use attending them. This morning I asked a question, who knows I am? And you ask me a counter-question, what should I understand by that? May you keep quiet, don't ask any further questions today. In the morning, when you asked that question, I thought you were trying to be argumentative. I apologize for your feeling that way. My question in return to yours was perhaps facile. It was, however, not meant to be argumentative. I felt there was an answer to that question that perhaps I did not know. But in truth I did know the answer, and I do understand what you have been saying. Yet at times, with the knowledge that is being absorbed, one feels that one does not really understand after all. Yet the knowledge is being absorbed. Who is there to know? and that is all I wanted to convey. I felt as if you were trying to attack or challenge me by your questioning. You should be quiet. When there is no answer coming out of you, you should not ask me to reply. For that question was meant for you, for your opening up. Don't ask questions for some time. Don't ask any questions to challenge me. To another visitor, were you here in India earlier? This is my first time, 3 days in India. You are already full of spiritual wisdom. You know a lot in spirituality, and I am in no position to address you. I am a pygmy before you. Do you have questions? Do you have a question? What happened to your questions? I try to understand the level where there should be no more questions. Why should I come down to this level and put questions in this case? What happened to your question? They are in the beginning, but in the ultimate state there are no questions. Why should I come down to a low level to ask questions? Who invited you to step down into questions? Interpreter, if you don't want to ask questions, what is the point of meeting him? In the morning, I clearly told you I am not addressing you as a person, as an individual. I am addressing you as the expression of the consciousness. In these dialogues, there is no question of I and you. This consciousness is the product of the food-body essence and is talking to that expression of the consciousness. You always assume that whatever occurs to you is knowledge, but it is really a concept. True knowledge is beyond concept, prior to concept. The conceptless, wordless, speechless state is knowledge. The trouble is that a foreign concept occurs to you. You like it, then you give it a title. You remember the title and you call it knowledge, and you are satisfied with it. How can you speak or develop any concept unless the primary concept I am is available? This primary concept begets further concepts. That is, all other concepts occur to it. We call it God, Ishvara, and such names, and all that we call knowledge. This primary concept illuminates all those concepts which later become my knowledge. However, whatever concept occurs to you, including the primary concept I am, is not the eternal state. This primary concept occurred to you. Then you called it Brahman, Ishvara. Because you like it, because you like to be, you give it these glorious names as mentioned. But with all that, it is still only a concept. Why is it not eternal? Because its very foundation is this food body only. So long as the food body is available in proper balance and proper condition, that I amness, or any other concept, will be sustained. Now where is your sample available in this? It is not to be found in you as the absolute. Only the sample of the food essence, in the form of I amness, a touch of I amness, is available. I am telling you my story, and while I am narrating my story to you, it means that you are getting to know your own self. If you understand my story, you will also understand your own story. Abide in yourself. Actually, Lord Krishna expounded his story, but he gave it the glorious name of Brahman Vidya, the knowledge of Brahman. Can anything good or bad happen to the Brahman Vidya, knowledge of the self? Since nothing good or bad can happen to that Brahman, that Para-Brahman is known as Nishkama, the desireless Para-Brahman state. The knowledge of beingness, the knowledge of the self, is like the utility of an unborn child. It has absolutely no use. Similarly, this Brahman Vidya, in final analysis, is of no use. Most of the so-called jnanis unjustifiably thought that they had the knowledge through certain concepts which they valued very much. They glorified the concepts by giving them various highfalutin names, and they hung on to those particular concepts as their creed, religion, or profound knowledge. Even this primary concept, I amness, is dishonest, just because it is still only a concept. Finally, one has to transcend that also, and be in the nirvikalpa state, which means the concept-free state. Then you have no concept at all, not even of I am. In that state, one does not know that one is. The state is known as Para-Brahman. Brahman transcended. Brahman is manifest. Para-Brahman is beyond that, prior to that, the Absolute. Do you understand what I am driving at? Whatever you caught in your attention, that attention should eventually turn into no attention. That state, the state that is finally left over, is awareness, Para-Brahman. I am addressing the consciousness. The instrument of consciousness for comprehension is attention. Anything is absorbed in the attention, and whatever is really understood goes through that attention, which itself is then dissolved into and as consciousness. So what remains? No concept is left. Thus attention also turns into no attention. With the arrival of consciousness, it occurs to you that you are. Simultaneously, I am occurs to you or in your attention. So when the consciousness is not there, attention is also not there. Subsequent to the arrival of consciousness and attention, everything else crept in. Now let us assume that through your attention you are able to embrace the entire manifest universe. When your consciousness is not there, where is that attention which embraced the entire universe? Therefore, the Jnani. Jnani is that principle where there is no question of a person, transcends this I amness state. It is the no I amness state. The Jnani dismisses consciousness. A Jnani has no scope at all for any pride, because there are no props left for supporting his pride. The absolute state is prior to consciousness. It means the unborn state. Since the Para-Brahman is the unborn state prior to consciousness, can it have an iota of knowledge? An unborn child does not know of his existence. Similarly, the Para-Brahman state does not know itself that it is. My words are rooted only in the Absolute. You must be able to divine any meaning out of them. The principle that understands relationships and tries to understand still exists in the realm of consciousness. It is in the realm of attention. But that to which it points has no attention in it. If you harness your attention, there is only silence. Up to the precipice of consciousness into the abysmal depth. It is like drilling a hole in the desert. If the water comes, you don't have to do anything anymore. Whatever I say cannot be grasped by your intelligence. It is beyond the scope of the intellect. Every living being, every person, every species tries to preserve itself. That is the work of the very life force. But have we any knowledge about that life force? This I amness, the touch of the consciousness, will be sustained so long as this food essence quality is retained. Once the quality is gone, the consciousness cannot be sustained. This is the product of the five elemental play. I repeat, so long as that five elemental food quintessence is available, the consciousness will be there. Once the quality is lost, the consciousness will also be lost. Is it possible for you to preserve the quality of these five elements perpetually? When you take this organic food essence, moisture must be present, and water is bound to dry up one day. Therefore the food essence is also bound to dry up, and so consciousness is time-bound. Eventually it will disappear. How can you retain that pride that I am like this? This I am business depends entirely on the food essence. So how can you retain it perpetually, that I shall remain like this only? To extract any essence, water is very necessary, and the water quality is bound to dry up. At this point, if you want to ask anything, please go ahead. If you are in a position to dwell on this theme about your identity, please speak up. Interpreter: I told Maharaj you know about the Bhagavad Gita and so many scriptures. He says all that is very interesting, but you ought to remember what is the primary support. You must be. Must you not? I did not want to ask any questions. The knowledge of the scriptures has not brought about what we desire. For that, grace and satsang are vital. What is the meaning of the word truth? We understand what is unreal, that which is not going to last. But what is the meaning of real? What is the meaning of truth? It is whatever is eternal. Whatever we experience, including the beingness, is unreal because it is not going to last. These are all non-eternal, and one experiences only non-eternal items. The knowledge I am is a primary concept and is also non-eternal. The One, the Absolute, which is eternal and aware, why should he worry about anybody else? Because in that state, whatever appearance takes place is that only. There is no other. So the question about any inquiry about others does not even arise. Eternal means now and forever. When the state is now and forever, why should one worry about anything else? Whatever is eternal is the truth. That state transcends knowledge and ignorance, so there is no scope for knowledge and also ignorance. You may call it jnana, you may give it a fancy title, but actually it is beyond jnana and ajnana, knowledge and ignorance. It is a most fascinating state, radiant, brilliant, glorious, and you can give it all sorts of titles. It is like the unborn child, the child of a barren woman. The truth is like that. The eternal is like that. The eternal means the unborn. Maharaj may have realized that, but how are we to realize that state? What do you mean by realizing that state? And what is that state? The child of a barren woman. I meant that which is eternal and now, as you were saying. Yes, I said that about that state, brilliant, glorious, etc., but it is like the unborn child. Chapter 9. Consciousness itself is the source of illusion. That state, referred to as the unborn child, I have tried to describe it as brilliant, glorious, etc., but it is really mind-boggling. You can't try to use your mind or intelligence to understand it. Give it up. Don't communicate all this to others, but you chase it, you pursue it, and be that. Don't be lazy. How can anybody put questions on this thing which is being discussed? It is nice to hear those particular words and statements which click at that moment, giving momentary satisfaction. But that is something different. This is going to change you. Any experience or any satisfaction that you get is momentary, meant for that time only. Once that time is gone, the satisfaction is gone, and everything is over. Then what is permanent, and how to achieve the permanent? Understand whatever is time-bound and eliminate all time-bound stages. The one who recognizes all these time-bound stages, that one is beyond time, is prior to time. Stay put there. You can understand all these time-bound stages only from a pedestal, which is not time-bound. Be there. How to reach it? Follow it up. There are no further words that can be applied to explain it further. By what means, rituals, or procedures can it be attained? Is it not beyond effort? Beyond understanding? When you are the instrument of understanding, all sources of intellect are kept aside. Whatever remains is that state. Presently we are fully in the grasp of this beingness, or consciousness. Consciousness is the product of this food essence body. Whatever occurs to this beingness is knowledge, maybe even profound knowledge, and we cling to that. But that is not the true knowledge. Beingness is the product of the food essence. It cannot be eternal knowledge because it is time-bound. Do you understand that? Don't try to give thought after understanding a little bit of this. Try to absorb and imbibe this fully until you stabilize in your true self. I have not understood myself fully, so the question of giving it up simply cannot arise. That I amness is again the product of this food body. Where is the question of knowing that also? What you call yourself or you is the product of this food essence body. How can that beingness understand you, the truth, you, the absolute? To the ignorant one, I can give a talk, depending heavily on spiritual jargon about the Brahman, about this and that, all the stories. However, when it comes to yourself, you must really understand the true self. You are alive is a concept, and it is false. In this body there is the principle which we know as yourself. That principle has no form, but you understand that as the knowledge I am. We also call it the consciousness, the I consciousness, or the beingness. Now the various names are the names of this consciousness only. The consciousness gives rise to the world. The world is within that consciousness. Try to understand that. This is the only way to knowledge of the self. Through this consciousness you can know yourself, what you are. All other types of knowledge in the world are always to enable you to earn a livelihood, to get money and live in the world. Otherwise, that is not knowledge at all. Knowledge of the self is the only real knowledge. In the universal consciousness, there are no individuals. We are looking at different forms. We give them names like man, God, donkey, and such. But ultimately, there is this consciousness only, the universal consciousness. And we should not identify ourselves as a separate entity, a separate body. We are that knowledge. It has no name or form. That is the essence of my teaching. 2 college students had come here. I told them, forget spirituality, follow your normal inclinations, tendencies, do your normal duties. Just give up spirituality. Why did I talk to them like this? I got involved in spirituality, in the business of spirituality, and finally I lost that love of the self also. I have no more love for the self. That is the reason. The chief anchor for anybody is the love for the self, consciousness, the I love state, the main bonding. I started spirituality in the name of self-knowing only, because I loved myself. I loved to be. And I wanted to know what God is. And to know that means spirituality. So in this bargain, I lost that. I am no longer fascinated by that love to be, because that is the main bondage, the main condition, the I love. So long as the vital breath operates, so long as the pulse will be beating. Until then, there is this love to be. Until then, there is this consciousness. When the vital breath quits the body, the pulse will stop, and I amness is no more. Since my love to be is now completely finished, exhausted, I have no more fascination for that state of I love. Therefore, I have no more love for anybody. We normally involve ourselves in loving somebody else from the main standpoint that I love to be. I call this our skull, our earthen pot. So long as this earthen pot is not properly baked, you have to collect knowledge from elsewhere. When it is properly baked and it sounds well, then you will be in a position to understand of what I am talking. But what will happen after you listen to my talks? The shell will burst, it will crack. Ritually, while cremating the body, the son has to light the fire. Then he will take an earthen pot full of water and put that in a small hole he has made. And then he will move round that funeral pyre in a wrong direction. Normally, the direction is by keeping the object to the right, moving clockwise. That is, around a sacred object or location. But here the object is kept to the left, so he will be moving counterclockwise. And after some 3 perambulations, he will throw the mud pot at the back, not in front, and he will go on chanting. So like that, when you come here, you will be cremating yourself. Whatever identity you have, whatever idea you have about your own self, will be cremated. Would you like this type of knowledge which I am exposing here? This love to be, this consciousness, unsolicited, spontaneously it has come forth for no reason, and since then it occupies itself with all activities. All these worldly activities are only due to that self-love, love to be. But self-love is not real. It cannot be eternal. It is a passing phase. All this knowledge in final analysis is of no use. Since you will liquidate that very consciousness, finally whatever you have heard here is of no use. because only within the realm of consciousness is knowledge innocent. But having heard whatever I have said, if you retain it in your memory and because of your association with that knowledge, some new knowledge also will sprout in you. All this is of no use really, but it has one use. You will be able to parade your knowledge before the ignorant masses, and you have a chance to become a guru. With whatever knowledge you originally had, plus the knowledge you have heard, and the knowledge which has sprouted in you, when you finally understand and realize all that, you definitely will come to the conclusion that it is all unreal, of no use. Nevertheless, having realized that, you will have a certain stature in spirituality and people will be flocking to you, listening to what you say. At that stage, whatever occurs to you, you can just blurt it out, because for the ignorant masses that will be profound knowledge. But in this bargain, what will happen is that you will be elevated to a very high stature as a guru. So beware of that. The main capital, the only primary capital that anybody has is only this: deep sleep, waking state, and that little touch of I amness, nothing else. Any questions here? How does one link up with consciousness? How are you linked with sleep? That is a natural state. This is also natural. You are linked with consciousness as a natural state. How do you realize it? I have tried to be calm and listen to myself, but it is in no way my natural state. Right now the body is real. The world is real for you. And you have now the waking state, deep sleep, and the knowledge I am. How long is this going to remain true or real to you? Without this waking state, deep sleep, and I amness, you are not there, nor the world, nor the body. How long were you associated with these three states? Right now, you are fully associated with them. Looking at myself, all my life has been associated with those states. Are you sure? What do you mean by my whole life? Life means a certain lifespan, from 1 day to 100 years. After 100 years, no more association of this. What I find difficult is to become detached from myself and see myself as an illusion. That is because you have identified yourself with this body. I am the body. That is why it is so difficult. Have you any other identity but for the body? I'm trying hard to detach myself. You must, but your true nature cannot be clasped or grasped. Whatever you catch hold of cannot be real. How do you get to the true nature? Once you reject what you are not, whatever finally remains, the leftover, is yourself, your true nature. Presently, whatever you know is I am. This I am is the product of the 5 elements. Out of the elements comes the food body, and because of the food body, that I amness is sustained. And you are also not that I am. I am is the taste or the fragrance of this food body. The ultimate you has no fragrance, no taste, no touch of I amness. But don't we need the mind to turn us into an inner direction first? Yes, but before you start thinking of turning your mind inward, hold on to yourself whatever you are. You know you are. Just be there. When you did not have the body, whatever you might have done, can you recollect anything? No. The scriptures say that we have our karma and our sins, and that is why we are here. That is for the ignorant masses, one who has realized the self-knowledge I am. For him, these stories are of no use. Is all this the concept of prarabdha? You are talking of destiny. What is the destiny of this? Destiny is like the lighter and the fuel contained in it. The 5 elemental juice is the prarabdha, the destiny. Whatever it is that sustains the consciousness, that is the destiny. If you think you are interested in spirituality, I am dissuading you. If you follow any other vocation except spirituality, you have some hope that you will succeed sometime. But if you enter spirituality, all your hopes will ultimately be shattered. You will be left with no hopes, nor expectations. So again, I advise you, don't jump into this spiritual thing. If you do that, you will be licking without a tongue. You will be left with nothing. You might even invite your own death. Death will be there. Death will meet you. You will be shivering in your shoes. Who is that recipient, intimate relation, who is going to receive all the sufferings? It is only that entity with three aspects: waking state, deep sleep, or the knowingness that is suffering or enjoying. What else have you? Just as hair grows out of your head, so all the mental aspects or phenomena grow out of your consciousness. For the past 10 years, I have been reading and studying Ramana Maharshi and also Morris Friedman. I have been talking to him. Now I have a problem as to which type of sadhana to pursue, and the feeling of fulfillment, clarity, has been eluding me. I am in a state of indecision to choose from among Ramana Maharshi, Maurice Friedman, and Maharaj. I advise you to give up spirituality and follow your vocation. What is the sum total of the body of work, the conclusion of the thoughts, of the three men you have referred to? One has to gain confidence and make a decision and act according to the truth, which I am obviously unable to do because of my lack of confidence. To grow in confidence, hold on to your primary capital, that you are. You are means waking state, deep sleep, and the touch of I amness. That is your primary capital, by which you know that you are. Hold on to that. Abide therein. Worship that as your only guru. In the absence of this triad, waking state, deep sleep, and I amness, what are you? What have you? Conflict of indecision. In the absence of the waking state, deep sleep, and I amness, have you anything? I think that is all the three we have. The meaning of this triad is you. You are, your consciousness, the state I love to be. I want Maharaj's blessing, and I hope that I can go to Ramana Ashram for some time. There are two things that are trying to keep me back, in the sense that I must do this, must do that. My relatives and friends might feel bad about me, because I have been unstable for the last 15 years. And this year again, Maharaj says that all hopes, all plans, all expectations will be shattered. So this will be one more shattering. But all the same, I want. Let the shattering happen, and let me be peaceable in Ramana Ashram. I want Maharaj's support to move on. You are going to stay there permanently, or are you going to retrace your steps? That I don't know. I want to go all the same. 1, 2, 3, 4 months, as long as possible. Eventually you will find shelter and peace in no other ashram except your own. That Visranti, it means ultimate relaxation, final abidance, will be available only in your ashram and nowhere else. The road is inward into your ashram. The real ashram within, I have yet to discover. The real, profound meaning of ashram is the firm conviction that I am. That is the inner abode. Where do we stay? We stay in the society of I amness and in the house of I amness only. Why should the world be created as an illusion? It seems real to us, but it is not. Nobody created it. Spontaneously it has come about. Prior to knowing this knowingness, I amness, where is the illusion? Prior to the consciousness, where was the illusion? The primary illusion is only this knowingness I am. Prior to that there was no illusion. This very consciousness is the source of illusion. This illusion or consciousness or I amness does not remain as something eternal. It is liberated. This non-eternal consciousness is liberated. When the knowingness is transformed into non-knowingness, that is liberation. Our illusion in our present consciousness, the present consciousness itself, is illusion. That is right. Our illusion of the present consciousness is time, is it not? Take the example of the dream world. You have the feeling that you woke up. Actually, you were in deep sleep on the bed. You have the illusion that you woke up, and out of this illusion the dream world is born. Similarly with this illusion, although not in the waking state, the apparent feeling that I woke up, that itself creates a dream world. How do you wake up then out of this dream world? You have to go into quietude. You have to be still. What do you look for when you are still? You must look at yourself. You must meet the consciousness. Consciousness must look at the consciousness. I amness must look at the I amness. Where do you look? Is it in you, behind you? It is neither looking backward, forward, nor upside down. Just be as you are. Just be. Do nothing. Although I am not very knowledgeable spiritually, I am posing very relevant questions. You assume that you are knowledgeable spiritually, but you are not able to ask very relevant questions. Anyone who wants to talk? If anything occurs to you, please speak. But don't just speak about irrelevant things. If you are inclined towards social work, by all means, follow that inclination. But as Maharaj has said, that if you follow the path of spirituality, all that you plan, social work, good works, or whatever it is, outward going, they will all be shattered. But I am asking, can the inward journey and outward expression be done harmoniously? The mind flow is always external, never internal. In the inward journey of self-discovery, that external mind flow comes to a complete halt. So when you are going inward into yourself, you will not have the mental inclinations to flow outward, like doing social work. That is a natural corollary. It is possible to do both things simultaneously in some fashion, but when you are truly seriously going inward, the mind flow stops altogether. There will be no more outgoing movement. Have you understood? So whether you want to be preserved or perish, you must stick to your determination. I picked up from yesterday's conversation your advice that we must give up our self-love. Is that correct? Some of us misunderstand. I knew they would. You see, the self-love is the one thing that is. I call it consciousness, the sense of existence, the sense that I am. And because that is, everything is. If one were not conscious, one would not see the world. So with this love for this beingness, one wants that consciousness, existence, to continue. So the love for this I amness is one thing which has to be there. But don't identify that love with the body that you think you are. That is the one thing that exists, not the self-love. That is the love for this beingness, that which gives one the sense of being, existing, I am. That love must be there. Not the love for the body. No, but that I amness. Don't let it identify itself with the body. That is nothing. What is this body? The body is nothing but good food, and the essence of that good food is the I am. And this body is the sustenance for this I amness, this consciousness. If the body weren't there, the consciousness would not be there. So this consciousness needs the body, but it is not the body. That is the fundamental understanding. It is a necessity. Keep one thing very clearly in mind. You are not God. You are not, the body which is, going to die. If people want to worship, and one must, one should not worship anything that is foreign as God. Worship as God that which came with you, to wit this life force, the vital breath, and this consciousness together. That is the God anyone can know. Any other God is alien to you. Then you worship the power which gives one sentience, the feeling, the sense of existing. The body is merely the sustenance for this life force. See this life force, consciousness, as the supreme God. God is within you. God is within you, but I do not mean within literally. That which exists in and of itself is God. Consciousness and the life force together, that is God. And that is one with the body, because the body is the sustenance for this consciousness and life force together. You can't divide them. And then, when a person is called dead, this is what happens. The life force within has gone out and merged with the air outside. That is all that has happened. What does one act on? One acts on the thought, which is produced by the mind. And what is mind? Mind is the working principle of this life force. The life force merely goes on. The consciousness and the life force merely watch. The action takes place through the mind. Mind gives rise to thought. The thought is interpreted, and then the action takes place. But the mind creates desires, and we should be careful of those, right? You cannot control them. All you can do is to purify this life force, and thereafter whatever is produced by the life force are the thoughts and the desires. They may be better desires, so the only thing one can do is to purify this life force. All our actions, the way the actions in the world go on, is on account of the mind. The mind creates the problems. Then the problems are converted into words, and the words produce the actions. God's name is repeated in the mantra. The mantra refers to a particular thought, and when that name is repeated constantly, the life force assumes the qualities of that on which the meditation takes place. So thereby the life force gets purified and becomes that on which the meditation takes place. So in order to purify the life force and the consciousness, is meditation necessary? Meditation and repeating the name are both necessary, but only for the limited purpose of purifying the life force. I repeat, that is no jnana. But for this purification, this is the means, and it has to be done. Whatever knowledge you gain refers only to that consciousness which is your birthright, and with which anyone is born, and which gives one sense of existence. Knowledge is based on that consciousness. That is why I do not now let people stay on for a long time, because then the self is taken as their own. It is better that they listen and then go, and let that knowledge with which they have been imbibed work through the life force. The words are the language of the life force. Whatever words and actions take place, at their origin lies the life force. So it is essentially the life force which does everything in the world. Thus the consciousness works through the life force, and the life force works through the mind and the word, which is the basis for all actions. Therefore no individual has yet come into the picture. And when this life force settles down into this consciousness, and therefore no longer works through the world, it settles down into what is generally known as samadhi, because there is no objectivization. But if the life force and consciousness are present, then the world exists. If there is no life force and consciousness, the world does not exist. The world is a creation only of these two. People pray to God, but what is God? God is a creation of this consciousness and life force, some concept to which people pray. Therefore pray to that which creates, the concept of God. Is there an evolution in man, as taught in science? Yes, you can accept it as a concept. But what you call man, a human being, what is that? And what is it in the presence of which there is a human being, and in the absence of which there is no human being? And what is it in the presence of which there is life, and a human being can function, and in its absence you will say the man is dead? Consciousness. Consciousness, the life force. In the absence of the life force, consciousness is not there. Is consciousness evolving also? Consciousness is present throughout and manifests itself in various forms. The light that you see is itself the light of the consciousness. What is consciousness, and whatever is cannot be anything other than consciousness. Is this any different today than thousands of years ago? Give up this idea of individuality, and what is now has always been thousands and millions of years ago, eons ago, and now what is still is. But give up the identification with an individual. This what is will always be there. Give good attention to what is being said. Hang on to it without any other concepts interfering. You use the word science. What do you really understand by that term? A study of what? Life and matter have regular patterns. There are rules of combinations and laws that we seem to live under. For example, the laws of physics that govern movement and the laws of chemistry that govern combinations of different substances and so on. Their study is what I understand by science. As I understand it, science is really nothing but analytical and a bent of mind towards research, maybe in regard of anything. A search born out of curiosity about something. I consider science as going deeper and deeper into the nature of a particular subject. How long can the best of scientists keep his life force going? Does he have any control over it? No one has control over his life force. The life force has come spontaneously, and it will go spontaneously. In deep sleep, consciousness is resting, but the life force goes on. At the end of life, the life force merges with the air outside, but does not die. Chapter 10. End suffering by stabilizing in the state before words. The topic on which I talk, which is the discovery of one's true nature, is extremely difficult. And what is my true nature is your true nature. The subject can see and think and analyze an object, but the subject cannot see itself. That is where the difficulty arises. The scientist can analyze an object, but how can he analyze his own being? But he analyzes himself as an object. Science is the analysis of one object by another, without ever reaching the subject. I told you the scientist cannot make a discovery about himself, but the scientist can make 1,000,000 discoveries about another object. What is a scientist? The scientist as such is only the essence of the food which he has eaten. So how can he do any research on the nature of that essence which he is? Only the greater, the more fundamental, can fully understand the lesser. The food essence that is the scientist, when that is dried up, where is the scientist? From now on I will give you only hints, so you better give full attention to those. And when I have given you those hints, I will pack you up so that you will have to work on your own. I will stop feeding people. One can only give directions. So on this matter, ask questions by all means, then you will get answers. But base the questions not on your identity, otherwise there will be trouble again. As I understand it, the quality of the consciousness is one. That is derived from the essence of the food substance. But the food substance itself cannot change the quality of the consciousness. It only supports it. Is that correct? Yes, this food, which supports the consciousness, is so small, infinitesimal in fact, that it cannot change anything about the consciousness, since consciousness is limitless. Therefore, how can there be any change in the nature or measurement of consciousness? The consciousness creates curiosity as well as other desires, and it creates the desire to know oneself. How do you separate one from the other? What is that you are thinking of? Give me a sample of you when the life force and the consciousness are not there. Who is this you? Other than the life force and the consciousness, who wants to do something? If you have some image about yourself other than the consciousness and the life force, give us an instance. Who is this one who wants to do something or other? The good and bad desires have spontaneously arisen in consciousness. They create images of themselves. Who is this who? Other than the sum total of this consciousness and life force, there is no individual. You have to look for the ultimate meaning of yourself, Paramatman. But when you are identified with the body, you cannot find yourself. Ultimately, the real self is your true nature, and you are not the body. Your true nature cannot be known through the senses, but all the senses derive meaning from your true nature. Whatever is visible to you has meaning because of that, the true reality. Certain things that you are saying have been recorded in the scriptures. the Upanishads and others. But at this moment I am not interested in knowing that. My heart seems to have become sort of hungry for grace. There is a conflict in that some say you have to work hard yourself, you have to contain your senses, you have to bring your mind into focus, and all that. You have to give up the habit of this and that. Others say that the company of saints, for example, when you sit in the company of Ramana Maharshi, will resolve everything. Hence, I seem to have to come to Maharaj with the expectation that something may happen out of the vibrations of this room. The mind expects something will happen, which dissolves all problems. If you understand whatever is being said here, then you get peace, satisfaction. But that satisfaction has no design in it. I am still not clear. All the scriptures and saints, the advice, you have to put that first. You have to control your mind. Suppose my mind wants to do something. The sages say don't run after the vagaries of the mind. Control your mind, close your eyes. Watch your breath. As Maharaj explains the state of I amness and all that. But mind seems to be lazy. It does not want to do that. It just wants the grace. So can I have this grace from Maharaj? I am helpless, lazy, and also restless. And here I come with an expectation that out of the vibrations and words from Maharaj, something should heal my mind, clarify my mind. These concepts which you have told us about just now, these are the concepts of the mumukshu, one who is desirous of liberation. That is the second stage. But when you come here, I tell you that you are not the body, you are the consciousness. Then you enter the third stage. That is called sadhana. From the way you talk, I recognize that you are in the stage of a mumukshu, one who wants liberation but still identifies with the body. Have full faith in the guru, who tells you that you are not the body but are the consciousness that I love. So you are formless. When you are given the mantra and you chant it, the meaning of that word becomes clear to you, slowly. In that state, you don't identify with the body, but take yourself as the consciousness, which has no form. So it is necessary to take a mantra and to be initiated by that teacher. It is necessary, and it is not necessary also, to get the initiation of a mantra. But by accepting a mantra from a guru, the meaning of that becomes one with your vital breath, and the vital breath gets purified. And in turn, you get purified and you become the meaning of that mantra. That means you are not the body form. You are the manifest principle. The vital breath is your expression. Everything is formless. The sadhaka, or the seeker, who takes initiation from a guru is sustained by the body principle. He is not the body, but he is that consciousness. The consciousness is sustained by the body principle. The simple meaning of that mantra is the principle containing the body, the consciousness. I am that consciousness, the dynamic manifest principle Brahman. I am, which has no design, form, or color. This consciousness is all-powerful. Whatever image or concept you hang on to it, its meaning will be delivered into your consciousness, and your consciousness will become that. Right now, my consciousness is a bundle of suffering, hankering for grace. My teacher tells me to accept a mantra, chant the mantra, and become one with the consciousness of the mantra. But the mind is lazy, out of arrogance or whatever, out of the habit of comparison, whether to take aid or to not take aid, whether to take it from this guru or that guru. That is all part of the wavering mind. It does not want to accept or reject anybody. It just wants grace without putting in any effort, without paying any price. It wants a free gift. How dare you say it idle or lazy? What the mind knows is out of the vital breath. Is the vital breath idle, lazy, or indulgent? Who told you that the mind is idle? I am saying it is both. It is lazy, it is greedy. That is the aspect of your body, not the mind. Can anything be as active as the mind? Mind is lazy and restless. It is restless after getting things from outside, material as well as spiritual, without paying the price for it. I am sitting here and my mind has gone to Pune. So how dare you call the mind inactive, indolent? You might say its activity is futile, but it is not lazy by any means. I'm sorry, I have used the word wrong. What I would like to say instead of lazy is that mind is greedy. It does not want to pay the price and wants the gift of grace. That is your concept from the body-mind state. You are interpreting your mind through a body's sense. Nothing is as active as the mind. But Maharaj has not answered my question. My question is, I want grace without paying the price. The end of suffering I want. Maharaj says, take my mantra, meditate upon it, live with it. I don't want all those things. Why did you come? Because I am suffering, and I want the end of suffering. And why also did you pay the price of coming? That I can't help. The basic advice for you is to give up spirituality. Do some social work for the benefit of mankind. But I have the experience that doing social work is not possible for me without first ending my own suffering. You will see the end of your suffering provided you see you are that. I have been told that my mind, not the consciousness, is really made up of several parts, the physical part, the intellectual part, and the feelings or the emotional part. This is the current picture we have of ourselves. To produce the source of the mind, I am, you must have the ingredient of the 5 elemental juice. If that is available, the sprouting of the mind can begin with I am. You know you are before even speaking the words I am. Subsequent to the knowingness I am, you say I am by words. But the I am lies behind what I currently see, and that is made up of desires from the other parts of my makeup. Are you not even before you have spoken the words I am? Yes, of course. Stay put there. There begins your spirituality, the foremost you, I am, without words, before the beginning of words. Be there. Out of that grows the experience I am. Then I am is the observer? Being is the observer, right? Witnessing happens to that principle which is prior to your saying the words I am. There is no such thing as deliberate witnessing. Witnessing just happens by itself. You must also analyze death, the meaning of this common parlance. At the time that death occurs, the vital breath quits the body, gradually leaves the body. At the same time as the vital breath, the mind and the language also go out. Simultaneously, this quality of I am, this sattva guna, the quality of beingness, also departs or goes into oblivion. Only I, the Absolute, remains. Stay put there only. Nothing happens to I, the Absolute. Upon the so-called death, this sattva guna, this quality of beingness, merges into the no-beingness state. There is no tangibility left for that I amness. The feeling of I amness is no longer there. It has become nirvana. There is no more sample of beingness. So what happens to that quality of beingness? It merges into whatever the state that was there, which is the witnessing of the departure of the vital breath and this guna, this quality of beingness. It merges into the absolute state. Does this happen with everyone or just with those who realize I am? It happens in totality for all. In that state there is no accountability of I amness also. So where is the question of I and others? In that state into which the quality of beingness merges, there is no I amness. So you can't talk of others or the I am. To attend to this, you should meditate on the meditative state. You should not meditate on what is, but you should meditate on meditation. So when you really meditate on the meditator or on that meditative state, whatever is not fit for meditation will drop away. and only the meditator will remain without object or meditation. It is easy for anyone to meditate on what is, when that is an object, but it is difficult for one to meditate on oneself. The meditator cannot meditate on another meditator, if the latter is originally himself. But that is to be attained. In this process of meditation on the meditator, the meditation subsides. It is no longer meditation. It transcends meditation. If you are able to meditate on the meditator on yourself, all the riddles will be solved for you, whatever they may be. Coming to the point, don't be obsessed by what is. Meditate on the meditator. Presently, I am accused of a serious disease. I am investigating the nature of that disease and to whom is that disease. First of all, I start with the body, which is the 5 elemental play. The latter is there, provided the consciousness is there. I want to investigate about this consciousness which is sustained by the 5 elemental body. Would it have autonomy? As a result of this investigation, I find that this I amness, which is the product of the 5 elements, does not have the exclusive authority to perpetuate itself. The sickness is subjected to this body, which again is the expression of the consciousness. This sickness has no tangible form. Similarly, the consciousness has no tangible form. It does not have a permanent feature. It is only temporary. Therefore, it is not the truth. The one who observes the consciousness is the truth. So he does with his abidance in the Absolute, who is in a position to observe all this play. All the unreality. And in that unreality, the sickness is happening. In that fashion, this entire show is eliminated as a big hoax, including the consciousness, the 5 elemental world, and the sickness. Therefore, the sickness has no real existence, because this consciousness has no existence in reality. This is the way I dismiss my so-called sickness. Can anyone develop any concept in this fashion? Here is a particular example as to how I follow that course of the meditator meditating on the meditator. Don't give scope for worries to obsess you. When the medical consultant pronounced judgment of the illness, he told me, "You should take my treatment, although in spite of it certain symptoms will occur. Blood will come out of your nose and throat and whatnot." So many things he said. The pain will be a little less, but all other things will take their course. So I said no. In the next 5 months or so, nothing will happen to me. The original judgment was so serious that it would have depressed any patient. All the symptoms should have become apparent very soon. But so far, nothing has happened. What is it due to? I was not meditating on the judgment of the doctor. I was meditating on the meditator. Therefore, so far there has been no effect of that judgment on me. Let anything happen in your body, but stay put in your confidence that you are the manifest Brahman, or you are the Absolute. The ideal spiritual seeker must be independent of all external forces. He should not hold on to anyone's apron strings, but should depend only on himself. People are always taken for a ride. A certain concept is given to them and they hang on to it for dear life. Then that concept comes to fruition and gives results. But that is an objective achievement. It is not going to last long. I am asking you to abide in your own self, this primary concept that you are. You abide in that and see what happens. Are there any questions? The memory of the body is not your identity. The knowledge I am is your present identity. Stabilize in it. From the bodily standpoint, you can talk a lot, thinking that it is knowledge, but it is not. The problem stems from the other way. Maharaj says in his teaching, stay with the I amness. And I say that mind is restless. My mind is not capable of staying in this I amness. With your understanding that you are the body, the problem can never be solved. I know this, and intellectually I can understand it. But actually I can't help it. You are prior to your intelligence. I'm not interested in any other statement that Maharaj is giving. Why don't you stop repeating the same thing? You are uttering words like an apprentice entering the spiritual trade. I want to convert you into an earnest seeker. There is a statement, God is all-pervasive. Consciousness is all-pervasive. Therefore, God is consciousness. To see God is to be God. But I am not that. Is that correct? Interpreter. When you say I am not that, Maharaj will ask you, what do you mean by I am? Neti, not this, not that. Interpreter. He will ask you to which you refer when you say I am not that. Which is that I am? One source of consciousness. That's the thrust of my question. Interpreter. This I am is consciousness, is it not? Yes. Interpreter. And you say consciousness is all-pervasive? God is all-pervasive, therefore God equals the consciousness equals the I am. Now what is your question? The question was, to see God is to be God, but I am not that. Is that a correct statement to make? You are correct. I need not go in upon that further. The way you understand is correct, though generally I am not being given to agree. Any further questions? I will explain why I am inclined not to agree with people. I will elaborate on that. You want to hang on to certain words. You interpret them in such a fashion, in your own words, and you hang on to those words. You must remember that you are prior to the words. Kill the words. Don't frame your knowledge. Don't condition it by words. Be prior to the words. Interpreter. I told Maharaj, now I understand why you always disagree with whatever we say, because he never wants us to stick to any words, any statement. He wants us to stabilize prior to words. That is why he always disengages us from the words to which we are clinging as our knowledge. He directs us to stabilize prior to words. That is very important. The disease has no name and form. It has no true foundation, because the I am also is an illusion. So you must always try to understand in this fashion. What is my true meaning? Your true meaning cannot be grasped or captured by any words. You can never be equated with any words, because you are prior to words. Words are subsequent to you.